Welcome to our channel. Before starting, please like and subscribe for more stories. The Sumerians are widely considered the first known civilization in human history, originating in Mesopotamia, the region between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, modern-day Iraq and Kuwait. Emerging around 4500 BC, they established the foundation of organized society, governance, and culture. Known for their innovation, ingenuity, and monumental achievements, the Sumerians profoundly influenced subsequent civilizations in the region and beyond. 1. Geography and early beginnings. The Sumerian civilization thrived in the Fertile Crescent, a region renowned for its rich soil and access to fresh water. This geographic advantage enabled the development of agriculture and the growth of stable communities. Early settlements. The first Sumerian settlements were small agricultural villages, but by 4000 BC, they had developed into more complex urban centers. The abundant resources of the region allowed for the cultivation of crops such as barley, wheat, and dates. The Tigris and Euphrates rivers provided water for irrigation, enabling large-scale farming and surplus food production, which supported population growth and urbanization. The birth of cities. Around 3100 BC, the Sumerians developed some of the world's first cities, including Uruk, Ur, Eridu, and Lagash. These cities were characterized by advanced planning, with walls for protection, canals for irrigation, and monumental structures like temples. Uruk, often called the first true city, became a cultural and political hub, boasting a population of tens of thousands at its peak. 2. Governance and social structure. The Sumerians established the first known system of organized government, laying the foundation for future political structures. City-states. Sumerian society was organized into city-states, each with its own ruler and patron deity. These city-states operated independently, often competing with one another for resources and territory. Each city-state was centered around a ziggurat, a step temple dedicated to the city's patron god or goddess. The ziggurat was not only a religious center, but also a political and economic hub. Kingship and authority. The rulers of Sumerian city-states were known as Lugals, great men. They were responsible for maintaining order, overseeing irrigation systems, and leading military campaigns. The Sumerians believed that kings were chosen by the gods, giving them divine legitimacy to rule. Social hierarchy. Sumerian society was highly stratified. At the top were the king, priests, and nobility, followed by artisans, merchants, and farmers. At the bottom were slaves, who were often prisoners of war or debtors. The priesthood held significant power, as religious rituals and offerings were central to daily life. 3. Technological and cultural innovations. The Sumerians are credited with some of the most important inventions in human history, many of which continue to impact our world today. Cuneiform writing. The Sumerians developed cuneiform, one of the first writing systems, around 3100 BC. Initially used for record-keeping, it evolved into a versatile script for documenting laws, literature, and religious texts. The Epic of Gilgamesh, written in cuneiform, is one of the oldest known works of literature. It tells the story of a Sumerian king and explores themes of mortality and the human condition. Mathematics and astronomy. The Sumerians introduced a sexagesimal, base 60 number system, which is still used today in measuring time and angles. They also developed early forms of astronomy, using their observations of celestial bodies to create calendars and predict agricultural cycles. Irrigation and agriculture. Sumerians built extensive irrigation networks to manage the flooding of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. These systems ensured a steady water supply for their crops, supporting larger populations. Innovations such as the plow and the wheel revolutionized agriculture and transportation. 4. Religion and mythology. Religion was central to Sumerian life, influencing their governance, architecture, and cultural practices. Polytheism. The Sumerians worshipped a pantheon of gods and goddesses, each associated with natural forces or aspects of life. Key deities included Anu, the sky god, Enlil, the god of wind and storms, Inanna, the goddess of love and war, and Enki, the god of water and wisdom. Temples and rituals were central to maintaining divine favor, which the Sumerians believed was essential for the prosperity of their city-states. Ziggurats. Ziggurats were monumental temples built to honor the gods. These towering structures symbolized the connection between heaven and earth and were the focal point of Sumerian cities. Priests performed daily rituals, sacrifices, and offerings to ensure the gods' blessings. The afterlife. Sumerian beliefs about the afterlife were somber, reflecting a view of death as a shadowy existence in the underworld. Despite this, they placed great importance on funerary rites to ensure a proper journey for the deceased. 5. Legacy of the Sumerians. The Sumerian civilization laid the groundwork for future cultures and empires in Mesopotamia and beyond. Influence on later civilizations. The innovations of the Sumerians were adopted and adapted by subsequent Mesopotamian civilizations, including the Akkadians, Babylonians, and Assyrians. Their writing system, mathematics, and legal codes influenced the development of human societies for centuries. Preservation of culture. Many of the Sumerian stories, myths, and records were preserved by later civilizations, ensuring their contributions were not lost to history. The rediscovery of Sumerian artifacts and texts in the 19th and 20th centuries provided modern scholars with invaluable insights into early human civilization. A legacy of innovation. From the invention of the wheel to the creation of urban society, the Sumerians left an enduring legacy that continues to shape human life. The Indus Valley Civilization (IVC), also known as the Harappan Civilization, was one of the most advanced and extensive early civilizations, spanning parts of modern-day Pakistan, India, and Afghanistan. Flourishing between 3300 and 1300 BC, the Indus Valley Civilization set remarkable standards in urban planning, architecture, trade, and governance. Despite its decline and the limited deciphering of its script, the IVC remains a fascinating example of human ingenuity. 1. Geographic spread and urban centers. The Indus Valley Civilization covered a vast area, with over 1,500 settlements identified so far, making it one of the largest ancient civilizations. Geographic range. The civilization spanned the Indus River basin, extending to the Ghaggar-Hakra River in modern India and Pakistan, and the Makran coast along the Arabian Sea. Major cities like Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Dhalavira, and Lodhal were the focal points of the civilization, with populations ranging from tens of thousands to over 100,000 at their peak. Urban planning and architecture. Harappan cities were meticulously planned, featuring grid-like street layouts, advanced drainage systems, and standardized brick construction. Mohenjo-daro, one of the most well-preserved cities, had a great bath, which may have been used for religious or ceremonial purposes. Cities were divided into citadels, fortified areas for administrative and religious activities, and lower towns, residential and commercial zones. Water management systems. The IVC demonstrated advanced knowledge of water management, with carefully designed wells, reservoirs, and drainage systems. Many houses had private bathrooms connected to an intricate drainage network, an extraordinary feature for its time. 2. Economy and trade. The Indus Valley Civilization had a thriving economy based on agriculture, trade, and craft production. Its extensive trade networks connected it with distant regions, facilitating cultural and economic exchanges. Agriculture. The fertile floodplains of the Indus River allowed for the cultivation of wheat, barley, cotton, and legumes. The domestication of animals like cattle, buffalo, and sheep further supported agricultural activities and trade. Craft production. Harappans were skilled craftsmen, producing beads, pottery, metal tools, and jewelry made from gold, silver, and semi-precious stones like carnelian and lapis lazuli. Their artifacts demonstrate not only technical expertise but also aesthetic sophistication. Trade networks. The Indus Valley Civilization had extensive trade relations with Mesopotamia, Central Asia, and the Persian Gulf. Harappan seals, featuring intricate designs and inscriptions, have been found as far away as Mesopotamia. Lodhal, a port city in Gujarat, India, served as a hub for maritime trade, with a dockyard that connected Harappan merchants to international markets. Standardization. The use of standardized weights and measures facilitated trade and economic consistency across the vast civilization. 3. Governance and society. The social and political organization of the Indus Valley Civilization was highly structured, although the lack of decipherable written records limits our understanding of its governance. Decentralized governance. Unlike Mesopotamia or Egypt, the IVC lacked evidence of large-scale palaces or centralized monarchies. Power may have been distributed among city leaders or councils. The uniformity in urban planning and standardization across cities suggests a highly organized administrative system. Social structure. Harappan society appears to have been relatively egalitarian, with no clear signs of monumental tombs or extravagant displays of wealth. Artifacts indicate the existence of artisans, merchants, farmers, and laborers, each contributing to the society's stability and prosperity. Role of religion. The IVC had a polytheistic belief system, as evidenced by figurines, seals, and religious artifacts. Seals often depict animals and deities, such as the Proto-Shiva figure, who is thought to be an early representation of the Hindu god Shiva. Scripts and language. The Harappan script, found on seals and pottery, remains undeciphered, leaving many aspects of their governance, language, and beliefs shrouded in mystery. Scholars believe the script could represent an early Dravidian language or an unrelated linguistic family. 4. Technological innovations and achievements. The Harappans demonstrated exceptional technical skills, influencing later civilizations in the Indian subcontinent and beyond. Engineering expertise. Their use of baked bricks for construction was more durable and standardized compared to other ancient societies. The precise design of their drainage systems highlights their focus on public health and urban hygiene. Tools and metallurgy. The Harappans used copper and bronze tools for agriculture, crafting, and warfare, though they had limited access to iron. They also worked with gold and silver to create intricate ornaments, reflecting their mastery of metallurgy. Transportation and trade. Evidence of bullock carts and riverboats suggests that the Harappans had efficient systems for moving goods within their cities and to distant trade partners. 5. Decline and legacy. The decline of the Indus Valley Civilization remains a topic of significant debate among historians and archaeologists. Causes of decline. Theories about the civilization's decline include climate change, which may have caused the rivers to dry up or flood unpredictably, disrupting agriculture. Other factors, such as invasions by the Indo-Aryans or internal social collapse, may have also contributed to its downfall. By 1300 BC, many major cities were abandoned, and the remaining population dispersed into smaller communities. Cultural continuity. Despite its decline, the IVC left a lasting legacy in the Indian subcontinent. Elements of Harappan culture, such as urban planning, craft traditions, and possibly religious beliefs, influenced later Indian civilizations like the Vedic and Mauryan empires. The cultivation of cotton, which began in the IVC, became a cornerstone of India's economy for centuries. Rediscovery. The Indus Valley Civilization was rediscovered in the 1920s by archaeologists like John Marshall and R.D. Banerjee, with excavations of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro revealing its advanced nature. Today, the IVC is celebrated as one of the cradles of human civilization, offering valuable insights into the early development of urban life. Conclusion. The Indus Valley Civilization was an unparalleled achievement in human history, with its advanced urban planning, thriving economy, and sophisticated culture. Despite its mysterious decline, it continues to captivate historians and archaeologists, serving as a reminder of humanity's capacity for innovation and adaptation. Its legacy lives on in the cultural and historical fabric of South Asia, standing as a testament to one of the earliest and most remarkable civilizations. Ancient Egypt is one of the most iconic and enduring civilizations of the ancient world, known for its monumental architecture, complex belief systems, and advancements in science, art, and governance. Spanning over 3 millennia, Egypt's history is divided into periods of unity, prosperity, and monumental achievements, as well as eras of political instability and foreign rule. Despite its eventual fall, ancient Egypt's contributions to human civilization remain unparalleled. 1. Geography and the gift of the Nile. The civilization of ancient Egypt was deeply shaped by its geography, particularly the Nile River, which was central to its economy, culture, and way of life. The Nile River. The Nile, the longest river in the world, provided ancient Egypt with fertile soil, water for irrigation, and a reliable transportation route. Its annual flooding deposited rich silt on the riverbanks, enabling the cultivation of crops like wheat, barley, and flax. The Egyptians referred to their land as Kemet, meaning black land, in reference to the fertile soil, as opposed to the surrounding Deshret, red land, of the desert. Geographical protection. Egypt's natural barriers, including the Sahara Desert to the west, the Red Sea to the east, and cataracts on the Nile to the south, protected it from invasions for much of its history. This geographical isolation allowed Egyptian culture to flourish with minimal outside interference. The Nile is a highway. The Nile served as a transportation and communication network, enabling trade and the movement of people and goods. Boats, powered by the river's current in the north and sails in the south, connected the Upper and Lower Egypt regions. 2. Political organization and the pharaohs. Ancient Egypt was a highly centralized state ruled by pharaohs, who were both political and religious leaders. The Egyptian political system emphasized unity and divine authority. The unification of Egypt. Around 3100 BC, King Narmer or Menes unified Upper and Lower Egypt, marking the beginning of the early dynastic period and the establishment of the first Egyptian dynasty. Narmer's unification is commemorated on the Narmer palette, a key artifact depicting his role as the unifier. The capital of the United Egypt was established at Memphis, strategically located at the junction of Upper and Lower Egypt. The role of pharaohs. The pharaoh was considered a divine ruler, a living god who acted as the intermediary between the gods and the people. Pharaohs were responsible for maintaining Ma'at, the cosmic order that ensured harmony and prosperity. They oversaw major state projects, including the construction of temples and monuments, and led military campaigns to secure Egypt's borders. Dynastic periods. Ancient Egypt's history is divided into several periods, including the Old Kingdom, the Age of the Pyramids, the Middle Kingdom, a period of stability and cultural flowering, and the New Kingdom, a time of empire building and prosperity. These eras were punctuated by intermediate periods of political fragmentation and foreign invasions. 3. Monumental architecture and engineering. The architectural achievements of ancient Egypt, particularly its pyramids, temples, and tombs, reflect its advanced engineering and religious devotion. The pyramids. The pyramids of Giza, constructed during the Old Kingdom, are among the most famous architectural achievements in human history. The largest pyramid, built for Pharaoh Khufu Cheops, is known as the Great Pyramid and was one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. These pyramids were monumental tombs designed to ensure the pharaoh's safe journey to the afterlife and to display his divine power. Temples and religious structures. Temples dedicated to gods such as Amoni-Asure, Hathor, and Isis were built across Egypt. The Karnak Temple complex in Thebes and the Temple of Abu Simbel built by Ramses II are prime examples of their grandeur and devotion. These structures were adorned with intricate carvings, hieroglyphics, and sculptures depicting religious rituals and the deeds of pharaohs. Advancements in construction. Egyptian architects and engineers developed innovative techniques to quarry and transport massive stone blocks. The precise alignment of their monuments with celestial events highlights their advanced understanding of astronomy. 4. Religion and the afterlife. Religion was the cornerstone of Egyptian society, influencing every aspect of life, from governance to daily routines and monumental projects. Polytheism. The Egyptians worshipped a vast pantheon of gods and goddesses, each associated with aspects of nature, the cosmos, and daily life. Key deities included the sun god and creator of life. Osiris, the god of the afterlife and resurrection. Isis, the goddess of magic and motherhood. Horus, the god of kingship, represented by a falcon. The afterlife. Egyptian beliefs about the afterlife were deeply complex. They believed that the soul, composed of multiple parts, the Ka-Ba and Ak, needed to be preserved for eternity. The process of mummification ensured the preservation of the body, which was essential for the soul's journey to the afterlife. Tombs were filled with offerings, treasures, and texts like the Book of the Dead, which contained spells to guide the deceased through the dangers of the underworld. Cosmic order. The concept of Ma'at, representing truth, balance, and order, governed Egyptian religion and society. Pharaohs were tasked with upholding Ma'at, both in their rule and in their religious duties. 5. Contributions to science and culture. Ancient Egypt's contributions to science, Art and literature left a profound impact on the ancient and modern world. Medicine. Egyptian doctors were highly skilled and used a combination of practical treatments and religious rituals. Medical texts like the Ebers Papyrus and Edwin Smith Papyrus provide insights into their advanced understanding of anatomy, surgery, and pharmaceuticals. Mathematics and astronomy. Egyptian mathematicians developed systems for measuring land and calculating geometry, which were essential for construction and agriculture. Their calendars, based on lunar and solar cycles, were highly accurate and influenced later systems. Hieroglyphics. The Egyptian writing system, composed of hieroglyphs, was used for religious texts, historical records, and literature. The Rosetta Stone, discovered in 1799, provided the key to deciphering the script. Art and literature. Egyptian art, characterized by its symbolic and stylized forms, depicted daily life, religious rituals, and royal achievements. Literary works, such as the Tale of Sinew and the Instruction of Tahotep, reflect their cultural values and intellectual traditions. 6. Decline and legacy. Ancient Egypt experienced periods of decline due to internal strife, invasions, and foreign domination. The Akkadian Empire is often recognized as the world's first empire, marking a monumental shift in the political and cultural organization of the ancient world. Founded by Sargon of Akkad, it united the independent city-states of Mesopotamia under one centralized authority. Spanning over 200 years, the Akkadian Empire laid the groundwork for future empires with its innovations in governance, culture, and military organization. 1. Origins and the rise of Sargon of Akkad. The Akkadian Empire's foundation began with the rise of Sargon the Great, one of the most influential figures in ancient history. Sargon's early life. Sargon's origins are steeped in legend. According to later Sumerian texts, he was born to a lowly family and abandoned as an infant, placed in a basket on the river, a story reminiscent of Moses. He was discovered and raised by a gardener, eventually rising to prominence in the court of the king of Kish. Through ambition and military prowess, Sargon overthrew the king of Kish and began his campaign to unite the city-states of Mesopotamia. The conquest of Mesopotamia. Around 2334 BC, Sargon defeated Lugalzagizi, the king of Umma and ruler of much of Sumer. This victory marked the beginning of Akkadian dominance over the region. Sargon established Akkad, Agade, as his capital, though its exact location remains unknown to modern archaeologists. From here, he launched campaigns that extended his empire from the Persian Gulf to the Mediterranean Sea. The First Empire. Sargon's conquests created the first known empire in history, uniting diverse cultures, languages, and regions under a single centralized authority. This marked a significant departure from the independent city-states that characterized earlier Mesopotamian civilizations. 2. Governance and administration. The Akkadian Empire introduced innovative administrative practices that became the blueprint for future empires. Centralized authority. Sargon and his successors established a centralized government that directly controlled key regions while delegating authority to local governors. These governors, known as Ensi, were loyal to the king and oversaw taxation, law enforcement, and military recruitment. The empire was divided into provinces, each responsible for contributing resources and manpower to the central government. Standardization. The Akkadians introduced standard weights, measures, and writing systems to facilitate trade and communication across their vast territory. The use of the Akkadian language, written in cuneiform, became widespread, replacing Sumerian as the lingua franca of the region. This linguistic unification was a critical factor in maintaining cohesion within the empire. Military organization. The Akkadian military was highly organized, with a standing army supported by levies from conquered regions. Sargon's campaigns were marked by innovative tactics and the use of composite bows, which gave Akkadian soldiers a significant advantage in battle. The empire's expansion and defense relied on a network of fortified cities and supply depots, ensuring logistical support for military campaigns. 3. Cultural achievements and innovations. The Akkadian Empire was not only a political and military powerhouse, but also a center of cultural and artistic innovation. Art and sculpture. Akkadian art is renowned for its realism and attention to detail. One of the most famous artifacts from this period is the head of an Akkadian ruler, believed to depict Sargon or one of his successors. This bronze sculpture demonstrates the Akkadians' advanced metallurgical skills and artistic sophistication. Victory steels, such as the stele of narration, depict the divine authority of the king and celebrate military triumphs. The stele shows narration ascending a mountain, trampling his enemies, and being blessed by the gods, symbolizing the king's semi-divine status. Religion and kingship. Akkadian rulers were closely associated with the gods, claiming divine favor as a justification for their rule. Sargon and his successors emphasized their role as protectors and servants of the gods, maintaining temples and sponsoring religious ceremonies. The Akkadians blended Sumerian religious traditions with their own, creating a syncretic belief system that influenced later Mesopotamian cultures. Literature and language. Akkadian literature included administrative texts, royal inscriptions, and myths. The Epic of Gilgamesh, although rooted in Sumerian tradition, was preserved and expanded upon during the Akkadian period. The Akkadian language, written in cuneiform, became a medium for diplomatic correspondence and literary expression, influencing the cultures of the Near East for centuries. 4 challenges and decline. Despite its remarkable achievements, the Akkadian Empire faced significant challenges that ultimately led to its decline. Internal struggles. The vast size of the empire made it difficult to govern effectively, and local governors often sought greater autonomy. Rebellions within the empire, particularly in Sumerian cities, weakened central authority and strained resources. Environmental factors. Archaeological evidence suggests that a prolonged drought and environmental degradation contributed to the collapse of the Akkadian Empire. The inability to sustain agricultural production led to famine and social unrest. The loss of fertile land disrupted trade routes and the economy, further destabilizing the empire. Foreign invasions. The empire faced incursions from Gutians, a group of mountain tribes who overran Akkad and sacked its cities. The Gutians' invasion marked the end of Akkadian dominance in Mesopotamia. The final Akkadian king, Shar-Kali-Sheri, struggled to repel these invasions and maintain control, but his efforts were ultimately unsuccessful. 5. Legacy of the Akkadian Empire. Although the Akkadian Empire fell, its legacy endured in the cultural and political traditions of Mesopotamia. Influence on successor states. The administrative practices and political structure of the Akkadian Empire influenced subsequent Mesopotamian civilizations, including the Babylonians and Assyrians. The concept of a centralized empire, with a ruler claiming divine favor, became a model for later empires in the region. Linguistic and cultural impact. The Akkadian language remained a dominant lingua franca in Mesopotamia for centuries, even after the empire's fall. Akkadian literature, art, and religious traditions continue to shape the cultural identity of the Near East. Historical significance. The Akkadian Empire is remembered as the first true empire in history, representing a milestone in the evolution of human civilization. Its achievements in governance, art, and military organization set a precedent for the empires that followed. Conclusion. The Akkadian Empire's rise and fall illustrate the potential and challenges of uniting diverse peoples under a centralized authority. Sargon of Akkad's vision of empire building and the cultural achievements of his successors left an indelible mark on history. The Minoan civilization, located on the island of Crete in the eastern Mediterranean, was one of the earliest advanced civilizations in Europe. Renowned for its sophisticated art, architecture, and maritime prowess, the Minoans played a crucial role in shaping the cultural and economic landscape of the ancient world. Their influence extended far beyond Crete, establishing them as a key player in the early history of the Mediterranean. 1. Geographic and economic foundations. The Minoans flourished due to the strategic location of Crete, which provided both natural resources and access to critical trade routes. Crete's geography. Crete, the largest Greek island, is situated at the crossroads of Africa, Asia, and Europe. Its central position in the eastern Mediterranean made it a hub for trade and cultural exchange. The island's varied geography, with fertile plains, mountains, and access to the sea, allowed for diverse agricultural and maritime activities. Economic strength. The Minoan economy was based on agriculture, crafts, and trade. Farmers cultivated olives, grapes, barley, and wheat while raising cattle, sheep, and goats. The abundance of timber, metals, and clay supported a thriving craft industry, producing pottery, tools, and luxury items. Maritime trade. The Minoans were skilled sailors and established extensive trade networks across the Mediterranean. They traded goods such as olive oil, wine, and pottery for raw materials like copper from Cyprus and tin from Anatolia, essential for bronze production. Their connections with Egypt, the Levant, and the Cycladic Islands fostered cultural and economic integration, spreading Minoan influence far and wide. 2. Palatial architecture and urban planning. Minoan society was organized around large palace complexes that served as administrative, religious, and economic centers. The palaces of Crete. The most famous Minoan palaces include Knossos, Phaistos, Malea, and Zakros. These structures were monumental in scale, featuring intricate layouts of interconnected rooms, courtyards, and storerooms. The Palace of Knossos, often associated with the legend of the Minotaur and the Labyrinth, is the largest and most elaborate, covering over 20,000 square meters. Sophisticated design. Minoan palaces were notable for their advanced engineering, including multi-story buildings, drainage systems, and plumbing. Large central courtyards were used for public gatherings, rituals, and possibly sporting events like bull leaping. Urban centers. The palaces were surrounded by well-organized towns with streets, workshops, and homes. The population of these towns included artisans, merchants, and farmers, reflecting a highly structured society. Evidence of communal storage facilities suggests a system of resource redistribution managed by palace administrators. 3. Art and cultural achievements. The Minoans are celebrated for their vibrant and naturalistic art, which reflects their connection to nature, religion, and daily life. Frescoes. Minoan frescoes, often found in palaces and villas, depict scenes of nature, animals, religious ceremonies, and everyday activities. Notable examples include the dolphin fresco at Knossos, showcasing marine life with remarkable realism. The bull leaping fresco, a dynamic depiction of an acrobatic ritual involving bulls. Pottery and craftsmanship. Minoan pottery evolved from simple designs to intricate patterns during Kamar's ware and marine-style periods. These vessels, adorned with motifs of sea creatures, plants, and geometric patterns, highlight the Minoans' artistic skill. Jewelry, seal stones, and metalwork further exemplify their craftsmanship, often featuring gold, silver, and semi-precious stones. Religion and symbols. Minoan religion was centered on nature and fertility, with worship of deities like the snake goddess, who symbolized fertility and protection. Religious rituals often took place in sanctuaries, caves, and palace shrines. Iconography included symbols like the double axe, labrys, and horns of consecration, both tied to their spiritual beliefs. 4. Governance and society. Minoan society was complex, with evidence suggesting a hierarchical structure that balanced centralized authority and local autonomy. Palace-centered administration. The palaces acted as administrative hubs, coordinating agricultural production, resource distribution, and trade. A bureaucratic system, evidenced by linear A-script tablets, likely recorded transactions, inventories, and ceremonial activities. However, since linear A remains undeciphered, much about their governance remains speculative. Social structure. The Minoan elite, possibly including priest-kings or queens, controlled religious, economic, and administrative functions. Below the elite were artisans, merchants, and farmers, who contributed to the economy through craft production, trade, and agriculture. Role of women. Minoan art suggests that women held significant roles in religious ceremonies and possibly in governance. Depictions of women participating in rituals and bull leaping events highlight their prominence in society. 5. Decline and legacy. The decline of the Minoan civilization remains a subject of debate, but likely resulted from a combination of natural disasters and external pressures. Natural disasters. Around 1600 BC, the massive volcanic eruption on the nearby island of Thera, Santorini, devastated Crete, causing widespread destruction and possibly disrupting trade networks. The eruption's aftermath, including tsunamis and ash fallout, weakened Minoan society, leaving it vulnerable to external threats. Mycenaean influence. By 1450 BC, the Mycenaeans, a mainland Greek civilization, had gained control over Crete, incorporating Minoan culture into their own. Evidence of Linear B tablets, a script adapted from Linear, suggests Mycenaean dominance over Minoan administrative systems. The end of Minoan civilization. By 1100 BC, the Minoan civilization had fully declined, likely due to continued Mycenaean influence, economic collapse, and further natural disasters. Legacy. Minoan culture left an indelible mark on the Aegean world. Their art, architecture, and religious symbols influenced later Greek civilizations, particularly the Mycenaeans and Classical Greeks. The myths of Crete, including the story of the Minotaur and King Minos, persisted in Greek literature and highlight the Minoans' lasting cultural significance. Conclusion. The Minoan civilization was a beacon of cultural, economic, and artistic innovation in the ancient world. Its sophisticated palaces, maritime networks, and vibrant art reflect a society deeply connected to its environment and its neighbors. Though it ultimately fell to natural disasters and external influences, the legacy of the Minoans continues to inspire admiration for their ingenuity and contributions to early European civilization. The Hittite civilization, centered in Anatolia, modern-day Turkey, was one of the great powers of the ancient Near East. Rising to prominence during the Late Bronze Age, the Hittites are known for their military innovations, advanced use of iron, and contributions to diplomacy and law. Their empire competed with the Egyptians, Assyrians, and Mitanni for dominance, leaving an enduring legacy on the history of the region. 1. Origins and early history. The Hittites were an Indo-European people who migrated into Anatolia around 2000 BC, merging with existing populations to form a distinct culture. Early settlements. The earliest Hittite communities were small, independent city-states scattered across Anatolia. By 1700 BC, these city-states began unifying under strong leaders, creating the foundation for what would become the Hittite kingdom. Founding of Hattusa. The Hittite capital, Hattusa, was established in the central Anatolian plateau. The city was strategically located near fertile lands and trade routes. Hattusa was heavily fortified with massive walls, gates, and towers, demonstrating the Hittites' focus on defense. Rise of the Old Kingdom, circa 1600 BC. Under King Hattusili I, the Hittites began expanding their territory, conquering neighboring regions and consolidating their power. His successor, Mursili I, extended the kingdom's reach by sacking Babylon in 1595 BC, an event that disrupted Mesopotamian power structures. 2. The Hittite Empire and military prowess. The Hittite Empire reached its zenith during the New Kingdom, 1400 to 1200 BC, emerging as a dominant power in the Near East. Military innovations. The Hittites were pioneers in the use of iron weapons, which were stronger and more durable than the bronze weapons used by their contemporaries. Their mastery of ironworking gave them a significant advantage in warfare. They developed advanced chariot warfare, utilizing lighter and faster chariots that could carry up to 3 warriors, a driver, an archer, and a shield-bearer. This innovation made their armies highly mobile and effective in battle. Expansion and conquests. Under kings like Suppiluliuma I circa 1344 to 1322 BC, the Hittites expanded their empire to include much of Anatolia, northern Syria, and parts of Mesopotamia. The conquest of key cities like Aleppo and Kadesh brought the Hittites into direct conflict with Egypt and other major powers. The Battle of Kadesh, 1274 BC. The Hittites, led by King Muwatalli II, clashed with the Egyptians under Ramses II in one of the largest chariot battles of the ancient world. Although the battle was indecisive, it highlighted the strength of the Hittite military and their ability to challenge Egypt. The subsequent Treaty of Kadesh, the world's first known peace treaty, formalized a fragile alliance between the two powers. 3. Governance and legal systems. The Hittites were known for their pragmatic governance and innovative legal codes, which contributed to the stability and longevity of their empire. Centralized administration. The Hittite king was both a political leader and a high priest, responsible for maintaining order and performing religious duties. A council of nobles, known as a panku, advised the king and acted as a check on his power, reflecting a degree of political inclusivity. Legal reforms. The Hittite legal system was advanced for its time, emphasizing restitution over retribution. For example, fines were often imposed for theft or property damage instead of harsher physical punishments. The Hittite laws, inscribed on clay tablets, addressed issues such as property rights, inheritance, and personal conduct, showcasing a well-organized society. Diplomacy. The Hittites were skilled diplomats, using treaties, alliances, and marriages to manage relationships with neighboring states. Their use of written treaties, often inscribed on clay tablets, reflects their commitment to formalizing agreements, as seen in the Treaty of Kadesh. For religion and culture. The Hittites practiced a polytheistic religion and absorbed cultural influences from the diverse peoples within their empire. Polytheism and syncretism. The Hittite pantheon included gods of nature, war, and fertility, such as Tezhub, the storm god, and Hepet, the sun goddess. They adopted gods from conquered peoples, creating a diverse and inclusive religious system. Their willingness to incorporate foreign deities helped maintain stability in their multicultural empire. Rituals and festivals. Religious ceremonies were central to Hittite life, with offerings and sacrifices made to appease the gods. Seasonal festivals celebrated agricultural cycles and reinforced the connection between the king and the divine. Art and architecture. Hittite art often depicted animals, mythological creatures, and gods. Relief carvings, such as those found at Yazilikiah, showcased their artistic skill and religious devotion. Their architecture featured massive stone walls, gates adorned with lion sculptures, and monumental temples. 5. Decline and fall. The Hittite Empire began to decline in the 13th century BC, succumbing to internal and external pressures. Internal struggles. Dynastic disputes and rebellions weakened the central government, reducing the king's ability to control distant territories. Economic challenges, including resource depletion and disrupted trade routes, further strained the empire. Invasions and the Sea Peoples. The arrival of the Sea Peoples, a mysterious group of seafaring raiders, dealt a devastating blow to the Hittites. By 1178 BC, the Hittite capital of Hattusa was sacked, and the empire collapsed. Surviving Hittite populations fragmented into small city-states. End of an era. The fall of the Hittites marked the end of the Late Bronze Age in Anatolia. However, their cultural and technological achievements influenced later civilizations in the region, including the Phrygians and Lydians. 6. Legacy of the Hittites. The Hittites' contributions to military innovation, law, and diplomacy left a lasting legacy. Ironworking. The Hittites' mastery of iron production helped usher in the Iron Age, revolutionizing warfare and tools in the ancient world. Their techniques spread across the Near East and Europe, transforming economies and societies. Diplomatic practices. The Hittites' use of written treaties and alliances set a precedent for international relations. The Treaty of Kadesh remains a symbol of early diplomacy. Their example influenced neighboring states, including the Assyrians and Babylonians. Historical rediscovery. The rediscovery of the Hittite civilization in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, through excavations at Hattusa and the deciphering of Hittite cuneiform, revealed their significance in ancient history. Today, the Hittites are celebrated as pioneers of early empire building and cultural exchange. Conclusion. The Hittite Empire was a remarkable civilization that combined military innovation, legal sophistication, and cultural inclusivity. The Olmec civilization, often referred to as the mother culture of Mesoamerica, flourished along the Gulf Coast of present-day Mexico. Renowned for their colossal stone heads, advanced social organization, and cultural influence on later civilizations like the Maya and Aztecs, the Olmecs laid the foundation for the development of Mesoamerican culture. From their mysterious religious practices to their impressive achievements in art and architecture, the Olmecs hold a vital place in the history of the Americas. 1. Geographic and economic foundations. The Olmec civilization was centered in the fertile lowlands of the Gulf Coast, an area rich in natural resources. Geographic location. The Olmecs inhabited the coastal regions of Tabasco and Veracruz in modern-day Mexico. Key Olmec sites include San Lorenzo, La Venta, and Tres Zapotes, which serve as centers of political, religious, and economic activity. Environmental advantages. The region's rivers, such as the Coatzacoalcos, provided water for agriculture and transportation. The surrounding jungles and wetlands supplied abundant resources, including clay, basalt, and wood. Fertile soil allowed for the cultivation of maize, beans, and squash, which formed the backbone of the Olmec diet. Trade networks. The Olmecs established extensive trade routes, exchanging goods such as jade, obsidian, and rubber with other Mesoamerican cultures. These trade networks facilitated cultural exchange and contributed to the spread of Olmec influence across the region. 2. Social structure and governance. The Olmec civilization was highly organized, with a social hierarchy that included elites, artisans, and laborers. Centralized leadership. The Olmecs were likely governed by a ruling elite that combined political and religious authority. These leaders controlled the construction of monumental architecture, organized labor, and oversaw religious rituals. The prominence of ceremonial centers like La Venta suggests that rulers played a key role in maintaining social cohesion and religious practices. Social hierarchy. Society was stratified, with elites living in ceremonial centers and overseeing the work of artisans, farmers, and laborers. Artisans produced luxury items for the elite, such as jade figurines and intricate carvings, while farmers supported the civilization through agricultural production. Labor and infrastructure. The construction of massive stone monuments and ceremonial platforms required a coordinated labor force. The ability to mobilize and organize workers reflects the Olmec's advanced administrative capabilities. 3. Art and monumental architecture. Olmec art and architecture are among the most distinctive and influential aspects of their culture, showcasing their technical skill and symbolic sophistication. Colossal stone heads. The Olmecs are best known for their colossal stone heads, which range in height from 1.5 to 3.5 meters and weigh several tons. These heads, carved from basalt, likely represented rulers or important figures. The precision and scale of these sculptures highlight the Olmecs' advanced stone carving techniques and their ability to transport massive stones over long distances. Ceremonial centers. The Olmecs built large ceremonial complexes, such as the platform mounds and pyramids at La Venta. These structures were likely used for religious rituals, gatherings, and governance. The Great Pyramid of La Venta, one of the oldest known pyramids in Mesoamerica, reflects the Olmecs' architectural ingenuity. Jade and other artifacts. The Olmecs were skilled in crafting jade, a material associated with wealth and spiritual power. They created intricate figurines, masks, and ornaments that were used in rituals and as status symbols. Pottery and figurines often depicted animals, humans, and supernatural beings, reflecting the Olmecs' cosmological beliefs. 4. Religion and mythology. Religion was central to Olmec society, influencing their art, architecture, and daily life. Polytheism and deities. The Olmecs worshipped a pantheon of gods, many of whom were associated with natural forces such as rain, fertility, and the earth. Key deities include the rain god, often depicted as a jaguar or a serpent, symbolizing fertility and agricultural abundance. The word jaguar, a supernatural figure that blended human and jaguar traits, representing power and transformation. Rituals and offerings. Rituals involved offerings of jade, pottery, and food to the gods, as well as bloodletting ceremonies to ensure cosmic balance. Evidence of ceremonial ball games suggests that these events held both religious and social significance. Sacred sites and cosmology. The Olmecs believed in a tripartite cosmos, consisting of the underworld, the earth, and the heavens. Their ceremonial centers were designed to reflect this cosmology, with pyramids representing mountains and mounds symbolizing the connection between the human and divine realms. 5. Innovations and legacy. The Olmecs were pioneers in many cultural and technological developments that influenced later Mesoamerican civilizations. Early writing systems. The Olmecs are believed to have developed one of the earliest writing systems in the Americas, as evidenced by symbols found on pottery and stone monuments. These symbols likely recorded events, religious beliefs, or lineage. The Mesoamerican calendar. The Olmecs created a rudimentary calendar system that served as the precursor to the more complex calendars used by the Maya and Aztecs. This innovation reflected their understanding of astronomy and the cycles of time. Ball game tradition. The Olmecs introduced the Mesoamerican ball game, a ritualized sport played with a rubber ball. The game, often associated with religious ceremonies, became a hallmark of later civilizations. Cultural influence. Olmec cultural elements, such as their art style, religious symbols, and architectural techniques, were adopted by the Maya, Zapotecs, and other Mesoamerican societies. Their tradition of monumental architecture and elite governance set a template for the development of urban centers across the region. 6. Decline and rediscovery. The decline of the Olmec civilization remains a subject of scholarly debate, but their legacy endured long after their cities were abandoned. Causes of decline. Environmental factors, such as changes in river courses and soil depletion, may have disrupted agriculture and trade, contributing to the decline of Olmec cities around 400 BC. Political instability and conflicts with neighboring cultures may have also played a role. Rediscovery. The Olmecs were rediscovered in the 19th and 20th centuries, when archaeologists uncovered their colossal stone heads and ceremonial sites. Modern research continues to shed light on their contributions to Mesoamerican history and culture. Conclusion. The Olmec civilization laid the foundation for Mesoamerican culture, influencing everything from religious practices to urban design. Their monumental achievements in art, architecture, and social organization set the stage for the rise of later civilizations like the Maya and Aztecs. The Shang dynasty, the first historically confirmed dynasty of ancient China, marked a critical period in the development of Chinese culture, governance, and technology. Located along the Yellow River, the Shang civilization laid the groundwork for China's enduring traditions in politics, art, and philosophy. Known for their advances in bronze metallurgy, the creation of the earliest Chinese writing system, and their sophisticated societal organization, the Shang dynasty is considered a cornerstone of Chinese history. 1. Geographic and economic foundations. The Shang dynasty thrived in the fertile Yellow River Valley, an area that provided the resources necessary for the development of a complex and enduring civilization. Geographic location. The Yellow River, often called the cradle of Chinese civilization, provided water for irrigation, fertile soil for agriculture, and a means of transportation. The region's lush soil, deposited by wind over millennia, was highly fertile but required innovative techniques to manage flooding and soil erosion. Agriculture and food production. The Shang people cultivated millet, wheat, and barley, as well as rice in the southern regions of their territory. They also domesticated animals such as pigs, cattle, and sheep. Advanced irrigation systems were developed to control the flow of the Yellow River, ensuring reliable harvests that supported a growing population. Trade and resources. The Shang traded extensively with neighboring regions, exchanging goods such as silk, jade, and bronze weapons. Their access to copper, tin, and other minerals allowed for the production of bronze, which became a symbol of Shang power and technological superiority. 2. Political structure and kingship. The Shang dynasty was characterized by a centralized government and a hierarchical social structure that reinforced the authority of the king. The role of the king. Shang kings were both political leaders and high priests, serving as intermediaries between the people and the gods. They were responsible for maintaining order, leading military campaigns, and conducting religious rituals. The king's divine authority was reinforced through the use of oracle bones to communicate with ancestors and deities. Administrative system. The Shang Empire was divided into territories ruled by local governors or chieftains who reported to the king. These regional leaders collected taxes, organized labor, and provided military support when needed. The central government oversaw large-scale projects, such as the construction of city walls, temples, and irrigation systems, which required significant labor and resources. Military power. The Shang army was a formidable force, equipped with bronze weapons, chariots, and bows. They expanded their territory through military conquest, subjugating neighboring tribes and incorporating them into the Shang cultural and economic system. 3. Religion and ritual practices. Religion played a central role in Shang society, influencing governance, art, and daily life. Ancestor worship. The Shang believed in the power of ancestral spirits to influence the living. Offerings of food, wine, and goods were made to ancestors to seek their protection and blessings. Kings and nobles performed elaborate rituals to honor their lineage, reinforcing their divine right to rule. Oracle bones. Oracle bones, typically made from ox scapulae or turtle shells, were used for divination. Priests or kings would inscribe questions on the bones, such as those related to harvests, military campaigns, or weather, and interpret the cracks formed after heating them. These inscriptions represent the earliest known form of Chinese writing, providing valuable insights into Shang society and beliefs. Deities and cosmology. The Shang pantheon included gods associated with nature, agriculture, and war. Di, the supreme deity, was believed to control the forces of the universe. Temples and altars were constructed to honor these deities, and rituals often included animal and, in some cases, human sacrifices. 4. Achievements in art and technology. The Shang dynasty's advances in art and technology had a lasting impact on Chinese culture and beyond. Bronze metallurgy. The Shang are renowned for their skill in bronze casting, creating tools, weapons, and ritual vessels. Their techniques involved intricate molds and precise craftsmanship. Ritual vessels such as ding, cauldrons, and guang pitchers were often elaborately decorated with geometric patterns, animal motifs, and inscriptions. These artifacts symbolized power and were used in religious ceremonies. Jade carving. Jade was highly valued by the Shang, both for its aesthetic beauty and its spiritual significance. It was used to create ornaments, ceremonial objects, and burial goods. The intricate craftsmanship of jade items reflects the Shang's advanced artistic skills and their cultural emphasis on elegance and symbolism. Advancements in agriculture. The Shang developed tools such as bronze plows and irrigation systems that improved agricultural efficiency. Innovations in crop rotation and soil management ensured sustainable food production for their growing population. 5. Writing and record keeping. The Shang dynasty's development of writing was one of its most significant contributions to Chinese civilization. Origins of Chinese writing. The inscriptions on oracle bones represent the earliest form of Chinese script, which evolved into modern Chinese characters. These writings recorded important events, religious rituals, and administrative matters, providing a glimpse into the lives of the Shang people. Importance of written records. Writing was primarily used by the elite for religious and administrative purposes. It was a tool for legitimizing royal authority and preserving cultural traditions. The system of logographic writing developed by the Shang influenced the writing systems of neighboring cultures in East Asia. 6. Decline and fall of the Shang dynasty. The Shang dynasty came to an end in 1046 BC, when it was overthrown by the Zhou dynasty. Several factors contributed to its decline. Internal weaknesses. Increasing corruption and inefficiency within the royal court weakened the central government. The reliance on a small group of elite families created tensions between the rulers and regional leaders. External pressures. The Shang faced constant threats from neighboring tribes, including the Zhou, who eventually grew strong enough to challenge their dominance. The Battle of Mai, in which the Zhou army defeated the Shang forces, marked the end of Shang rule. Legacy beyond its fall. Although the Shang dynasty fell, its cultural and technological innovations were adopted and expanded upon by the Zhou and later Chinese dynasties. 7. Legacy of the Shang dynasty. The Shang dynasty's contributions to Chinese civilization laid the foundation for the cultural, political, and technological developments of later periods. Cultural influence. The Shang's religious practices, ancestor worship, and use of oracle bones influenced Chinese spiritual traditions and Confucian values. The Assyrian Empire, originating in northern Mesopotamia, was one of the most formidable and enduring powers of the ancient world. Known for its unparalleled military prowess, administrative sophistication, and cultural contributions, the Assyrian Empire dominated the Near East for centuries. At its height, the empire stretched from Egypt to the Persian Gulf, making it one of the largest empires of its time. Despite its reputation for brutality, the Assyrians were also remarkable builders, administrators, and patrons of art and literature. 1. Geographic and economic foundations. The Assyrian Empire was located in the fertile lands of northern Mesopotamia, which provided the resources necessary for the rise of a powerful state. Geographic location. The Assyrians initially settled in the region surrounding the city of Ashur, along the banks of the Tigris River. This strategic location provided access to trade routes connecting Mesopotamia, Anatolia, and the Levant, facilitating economic and cultural exchange. Agriculture and resources. Northern Mesopotamia's fertile soil and abundant water sources supported the cultivation of barley, wheat, and other staples, ensuring a stable food supply. The region's proximity to mountains and rivers provided timber, stone, and metals, which were critical for construction and weapon production. Economic growth through trade. The Assyrians were skilled traders, establishing commercial colonies as far as Anatolia. Assyrian merchants traded textiles, metals, and other goods, generating wealth that supported their military campaigns and monumental construction projects. 2. Political organization and administration. The Assyrian Empire's sophisticated administrative system enabled it to govern a vast and diverse territory effectively. Centralized rule. The Assyrian kings wielded absolute power, serving as both political and religious leaders. They were seen as representatives of the god Ashur, the chief deity of the Assyrian pantheon. The king's authority was reinforced through elaborate propaganda, including inscriptions, reliefs, and monuments that celebrated their divine right to rule. Provincial administration. The empire was divided into provinces, each governed by an appointed official responsible for collecting taxes, maintaining order, and overseeing military recruitment. A network of roads and relay stations facilitated communication between the provinces and the central government, ensuring efficient administration. Tribute system. Conquered territories were required to pay tribute in the form of gold, silver, livestock, and other resources. This system enriched the Assyrian treasury and maintained control over subject peoples. Rebellions were met with swift and brutal punishment, serving as a deterrent to future uprisings. 3. Military innovation and expansion. The Assyrian Empire was built on the strength of its military, which was one of the most advanced and disciplined forces of the ancient world. Professional army. The Assyrians maintained a standing army, a rarity in the ancient world. Soldiers were highly trained and specialized, with units dedicated to infantry, cavalry, chariots, and siege warfare. The army was supported by a vast logistical network that ensured the supply of food, weapons, and equipment during campaigns. Advanced weaponry and tactics. The Assyrians were pioneers in the use of iron weapons, which were stronger and more durable than their bronze counterparts. They developed innovative siege techniques, including battering rams, siege towers, and tunneling, allowing them to conquer heavily fortified cities. Brutality and psychological warfare. The Assyrians were infamous for their use of terror as a weapon. They employed tactics such as mass deportations, public executions, and mutilations to instill fear in their enemies. This reputation for brutality discouraged resistance and facilitated the rapid expansion of their empire. Territorial expansion. Under kings like Tiglath-Pileser III, Sargon II, Sennacherib, and Ashurbanipal, the Assyrians expanded their empire to include parts of Egypt, Anatolia, the Levant, and Mesopotamia. Notable conquests included the capture of Babylon, the destruction of Samaria, the capital of the Kingdom of Israel, and the subjugation of Egypt. 4. Cultural and architectural achievements. The Assyrians made significant contributions to art, literature, and architecture, reflecting their sophistication and wealth. Monumental architecture. The Assyrians built grand cities such as Nineveh, Ashur, and Dur-Sharrukin, modern Khorsabad, which featured massive palaces, temples, and ziggurats. The Palace of Sargon II at Dur-Sharrukin and the North Palace of Ashurbanipal in Nineveh were adorned with intricate reliefs depicting military victories, hunting scenes, and religious ceremonies. Art and reliefs. Assyrian reliefs are renowned for their detail and realism. They often portrayed scenes of warfare, hunting, and daily life, serving both as propaganda and historical records. The famous lion hunt of Ashurbanipal, carved in alabaster, showcases the king's bravery and power. Libraries and literature. The Assyrians were avid collectors of knowledge. King Ashurbanipal established one of the world's first libraries in Nineveh, containing thousands of clay tablets written in cuneiform. The library preserved important texts, including the Epic of Gilgamesh, legal codes, and scientific treatises, providing invaluable insights into Mesopotamian culture. 5. Religion and the role of the gods. Religion was deeply intertwined with Assyrian governance, art, and daily life. The cult of Ashur. The Assyrians worshipped Ashur, their national god, as the supreme deity. The king's role as Ashur's representative reinforced his authority and justified military conquests as acts of divine will. Temples dedicated to Ashur were centers of religious and political activity. Polytheistic beliefs. In addition to Ashur, the Assyrians worshipped other Mesopotamian gods such as Ishtar, goddess of love and war, Marduk, and Nabu. Rituals and ceremonies, including sacrifices and offerings, were performed to maintain divine favor and ensure the empire's prosperity. Astrology and divination. The Assyrians practiced astrology and divination to predict the future and guide decision-making. Priests interpreted omens from celestial events, animal behavior, and the patterns on sacrificed animals' livers. 6. Decline and fall. The Assyrian Empire, despite its military might, eventually succumbed to internal and external pressures. Overextension and rebellion. The vast size of the empire made it difficult to govern effectively. Rebellions in conquered territories drained resources and weakened central authority. Harsh policies and brutal treatment of subject peoples fostered resentment, leading to widespread uprisings. The Neo-Babylonian and Median alliance. In 612 BC, the cities of Nineveh and Ashur were sacked by a coalition of Babylonians, Medes, and other groups, marking the collapse of Assyrian power. The destruction of Nineveh signaled the end of the Assyrian Empire, which was replaced by the Neo-Babylonian Empire. The Phoenicians, an ancient maritime civilization originating in the Levant, modern-day Lebanon, Syria, and northern Israel, were renowned for their seafaring skills, trade networks, and cultural contributions. Known as the Masters of the Sea, they dominated Mediterranean trade for centuries, spreading their influence far and wide. The Phoenicians were also responsible for one of the most significant innovations in human history, the development of the alphabet, which became the foundation of many modern writing systems. 1. Geographic and economic foundations. The Phoenicians thrived in a region that offered both natural resources and a strategic location for maritime trade. Geographic location. The Phoenician homeland was a narrow strip of land along the eastern Mediterranean coast, bordered by the sea to the west and mountains to the east. Major city-states included Tyre, Sidon, and Byblos, each serving as a hub of trade and culture. Their proximity to the Mediterranean allowed the Phoenicians to establish themselves as expert sailors and traders, while their position at the crossroads of Asia, Africa, and Europe facilitated connections with diverse cultures. Natural resources. The region's abundance of cedar wood was crucial for shipbuilding, providing durable timber for constructing sturdy and seaworthy vessels. The Phoenicians also exploited resources like purple dye extracted from the murex sea snail, a highly prized luxury item that earned them the nickname Purple People in Greek, Phoenix. Economic focus on trade. Unlike many ancient civilizations, the Phoenicians relied heavily on commerce rather than agriculture. They became intermediaries in Mediterranean trade, exchanging goods such as wine, olive oil, metals, and textiles for precious commodities like gold, silver, and ivory. Phoenician merchants established trade routes that extended as far as the British Isles, where they acquired tin, and the West African coast, where they sourced gold. 2. Political organization and city-states. The Phoenicians were not a unified empire but a collection of independent city-states, each with its own government and trade network. City-state structure. Phoenician city-states, such as Tyre, Sidon, and Byblos, operated independently but shared a common language, culture, and religion. Each city-state was governed by a king or council of elites who managed trade and diplomatic relations. The lack of political unity allowed the Phoenicians to focus on trade and exploration, avoiding the costly conflicts that often plagued centralized empires. Colonization and expansion. To support their growing trade networks, the Phoenicians established colonies across the Mediterranean, including Carthage in North Africa, Malta, and Cadiz in modern Spain. These colonies became key trading outposts, spreading Phoenician culture and serving as vital links in their maritime network. Diplomatic relations. The Phoenicians maintained peaceful relations with neighboring powers by acting as mediators and suppliers of luxury goods. They were particularly valued by the Egyptians and Assyrians for their cedar wood, purple dye, and craftsmanship. 3. Maritime innovation and exploration. The Phoenicians' mastery of the sea was central to their success as traders, explorers, and cultural intermediaries. Shipbuilding and navigation. The Phoenicians developed advanced shipbuilding techniques, creating vessels like the galley, which featured oars and sails for speed and maneuverability. Their ships were equipped with reinforced hulls and large cargo holds, allowing them to transport goods across long distances. They were skilled navigators, using the stars and the sun to guide their journeys. The North Star, Phoenician star, became a critical reference point for navigation. Exploration. Phoenician sailors ventured beyond the Mediterranean, reaching as far as the Atlantic Ocean and possibly the West African coast. According to ancient sources, Phoenician explorers circumnavigated Africa on behalf of the Egyptian pharaoh Necho II around 600 BC, an extraordinary feat for the time. Their exploration efforts spread their influence and connected distant cultures, facilitating the exchange of goods, ideas, and technologies. Maritime trade network. The Phoenicians established a network of trading posts and colonies that spanned the Mediterranean. They introduced new goods and ideas to regions as diverse as Egypt, Greece, and Italy. They were instrumental in the spread of technologies like glassmaking, metallurgy, and textile production. 4. Cultural and artistic achievements. The Phoenicians made significant contributions to art, architecture, and technology, leaving a lasting legacy in the Mediterranean world. The alphabet. One of the Phoenicians' most enduring contributions was the development of the Phoenician alphabet, a phonetic writing system consisting of 22 letters. Unlike cuneiform and hieroglyphs, it was simple and accessible, making literacy more widespread. The Phoenician alphabet was adopted and adapted by the Greeks, Romans, and eventually the modern world, forming the basis for many contemporary writing systems. Art and craftsmanship. The Phoenicians were skilled artisans, producing luxury goods such as ivory carvings, glassware, and metalwork. Their intricate designs often featured motifs inspired by Egyptian and Mesopotamian art. Their purple dye, made from the murex snail, was a symbol of wealth and power, often reserved for royalty and the elite. Architecture. Phoenician architecture combined practicality with grandeur. They built impressive harbors, temples, and fortifications in their city-states and colonies. The harbor attire was a masterpiece of engineering, with artificial islands and breakwaters that provided shelter for their ships. 5. Religion and mythology. The Phoenicians had a polytheistic religion that influenced neighboring cultures and was closely tied to their maritime lifestyle. Deities and worship. The Phoenician pantheon included gods associated with natural forces and fertility. Key deities included Baal, storm god, Astarte, goddess of fertility and war, and Melkart, patron god of Tyre and Carthage. Temples were central to religious life, serving as both places of worship and centers of commerce. Religious practices. Religious rituals included sacrifices, offerings, and processions to honor the gods and seek their favor for successful voyages and trade. Some ancient sources suggest that the Phoenicians practiced child sacrifice, particularly in Carthage, though this remains a topic of scholarly debate. Influence on other cultures. Phoenician religious practices and deities influenced the mythology and worship of neighboring civilizations, including the Greeks and Romans. 6. Decline and legacy. The Phoenician civilization eventually declined due to external pressures, but left a lasting impact on the Mediterranean world.